HubSpot is a great tool. Monday is a great tool. Notion is a great tool. I want to be really clear about that up front because this video is not about those tools being bad. It's about what happens when you stack a set of great tools on top of each other and expect them to behave like a system. They don't. And I've watched that gap quietly destroy the operations of businesses doing $500,000, $1 million, $5 million a year. I've spent the last decade building internal software for service businesses, first inside large teams with multi-million-pound budgets, and now at my own agency, Foundana. And I keep seeing the same pattern. Founders doing everything right, buying the right tools, paying for the right seats, and still wondering why their business only runs because they're personally holding it together. Now, there are 5 specific reasons that this happens. 5 ways your SaaS stack is working against you right now. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they are and what actually fixes it. If you run a service business and this is already sounding familiar, then foundana.com is where we help founders like you build the connected system that your tool stack is meant to be able to achieve. Links below. So here's the root of it. Every tool you're paying for was designed to solve one specific problem. HubSpot was built to manage sales pipelines. Monday was built to track project delivery. Notion was built to organize information. Each one was initially designed in isolation by a team thinking about one problem, not the full picture of how your specific business actually runs. The problem isn't any one of those tools individually. The problem is that your business isn't isolated like that. A client comes in through your CRM and their project gets tracked in your project tool. The SOPs your team follows live somewhere else entirely, and someone, usually you as a founder, or someone on your team that really can't afford to lose, is manually stitching it all together every single day. That's not a system, that is a person running a suite of tools. And I can prove it. Part of how I work at Foundana before we build anything is to do a deep discovery session. It's a 90-minute call. Sometimes it's half a day on site if need be. And we literally walk through everything about how the business runs. Not how the founder thinks it runs, but how it actually runs. And there's a specific moment that happens in almost every single one of these sessions. I ask something like, walk me through what happens when a new client signs up, from the moment the contract lands to the moment work actually starts. Step by step, what happens? And they start explaining, and it's all going well. And then about 40 seconds in, they pause and they say something like, at this point, Sarah copies the details across into Monday. So I write it down and I keep asking. And by the end of the walkthrough, there are 4 moments just like that, where Sarah does something manually and James does something else. James triggers the zap, but if it breaks, Emma has to do it herself. Sarah isn't the problem here. Sarah is the integration layer. She's the human glue that holds everything together. She is also one resignation letter away from screwing your business over. Remember, the most expensive software in your business is probably not even software. It's the software running inside your operation manager's head. And the uncomfortable part about that is it didn't really happen because you made bad decisions. It happened because each individual tool you bought was never designed to talk to each other properly. That brings me to reason number 1. Reason 1. They each own a piece of your business and no one owns all of it. Your client data lives in HubSpot. Your project data lives in Monday. Your team's SOPs live in Notion. What's actually happening now with this client right now? That question has no real home base. There's no single place where it lives. It's spread out across different systems. So when a client calls to ask where their project is at, what actually happens? Well, someone has to look in HubSpot. Someone has to look in Slack to see if there's been any communications. Someone checks Monday. And then someone synthesizes all of that and puts it down into an email that gets sent to them. And it happens dozens of times a week, probably. That's not really an efficiency problem. It's a structural problem. And the issues run much deeper than that. Reason 2. These tools are built for how businesses should work, not how yours actually works. Every SaaS tool has opinions. HubSpot has a very specific idea of what a sales pipeline looks like. Monday has a very specific idea of how a project should be structured. And Notion has templates and databases that make certain ways of organizing information easy, but it's their view of the world. So here's what happens. You buy the tool, you try to configure it to match how you work, but eventually, and this is the moment I see in so many businesses all the time, is you try stopping to get the tool to fit your process, and you start trying to fit your process to use the tool because it's just easier, because the tool already does it that way. But wait, this is the part nobody really talks about. The moment you bend your process to fit a tool, The tool is in charge, not you, not your team, the actual tool itself. So your operations are now constrained by the design decisions of a product team that are on the other side of the world probably, and you don't speak to. They don't know your business. They don't know how you're optimizing your customer management process. They're not doing anything for you. And once your process bends to the tool, the next problem almost always follows. Reason 3, every integration is a fragile dependency. So you've got tools that don't natively talk to each other. Some might have an integration, but in many cases, the solution is to use something like Zapier or NA10 or Make to build a bridge between the tools. I've actually got a whole video on why automations are becoming less reliable as a business foundation. The link's in the description. But the short version is this. Every automation between your tools is a point of failure. The Zapier trigger breaks or the API changes. The field mapping stops working because someone updated a property in HubSpot, for example. And when it breaks, and trust me, it will break all the time, nobody notices immediately. The data stops flowing and things fall through the cracks. And by the time someone realizes it, you've got a big mess to clean up. The workaround that was supposed to be temporary has become a process, and the automation that was supposed to free up your time is now something that the team has to work around. And nobody wants to touch it because nobody fully understands it anymore, including the person who probably built it. The integration fragility is bad. But what it does to your team is even worse. Quick one before we move on. If this is landing for you, hit subscribe. I put out videos like this every week on how businesses and the founders can build systems that actually let teams run without them. So reason 4, your team learns the tool, not the job. Here's a question. When you onboard a new team member, what does the first week actually look like? In so many service businesses running like a multi-tool stack, it's normally something like, here's how we use HubSpot. Here's how we use Monday. Here's where we keep things in Notion. Here's how the Zap works. Yeah. But don't touch it. That's tool training. That's not job training. The subtle damage this does is that your team's mental model of their role becomes, I manage the tools, rather than I deliver the outcome. They spend energy navigating the system instead of doing the actual work. And when someone leaves, which they will, unfortunately, the institutional knowledge that they take with them isn't just how to do the job, it's how to navigate the tool stack. It's the workarounds, it's the things that break if you do them wrong. That knowledge lives in people's heads, and that's why you're worried about key people leaving. It was never designed to make the work obvious, and that way you have a big risk. But when you build a system around how you actually work, onboarding becomes obvious. The tool teaches the job because the tool was built for this specific job. But you can't get there until you solve the final problem. Reason 5, you can't change without breaking everything. So this is the one that keeps founders stuck the longest, because by the time you've noticed all 4 of the problems I just described, by the time the silos are obvious and the process distortion is real, the integrations are fragile, and your team is navigating around the system rather than actually using it, the cost of changing feels way too high. You've got years of data in HubSpot, your whole team is trained on Monday, your Notion setup took months to build, and the Zaps are all connected to keep it flowing. If you change one thing in one of the systems, it all breaks, and that is uncertainty. That's not cool. That is potentially paralyzing for a business owner. So you stay and you continue to optimize, and you buy the next integration or the upgrade tier because you didn't have the right functionality that you needed on your current plan. The add-on looks promising, you fix that broken thing, and you just deal with one thing one by one. And the stack slowly and slowly gets more complicated, and the dependencies get even deeper. Here's the thing that I want you to hold on to. That feeling of being locked in, well, that's not a sign that you've built something valuable. That's a sign that you've built something brittle, unfortunately. There's a difference. So what does the alternative actually look like? Because this isn't an argument for spreadsheets, by the way. Think about how major airports are built. Heathrow, LAX, most of them weren't designed as a single thing. They went up terminal by terminal. Terminal 1 in the 60s, Terminal 2 in the 80s, Terminal 5 in 2000. Each one, at the time it was built, was revolutionary, state-of-the-art. Great check-in desks, great lounges, great signage, all within its own walls. The problem is the connections. the bit in between. Passengers connecting at those airports routinely missing flights, not because any one terminal failed, but because they have to go from one terminal to the other. Each terminal was designed to be excellent individually, but nobody really planned the journey across all of them. Your SaaS stack is Heathrow, and every terminal in its own right is great. Yeah, well, some of them, but nobody designed the bit in between. A connected system, so custom software built around how your business actually works, is the difference between terminals and a hub. One place where your client data, your project delivery, your team's work, and your processes all live together. So no manual transfers, no integration dependencies, no Sarah spending half her week being the glue. And here's what changes when you fix this. Remember the onboarding problem, where new team members spend their first week learning tools instead of the job? When, say, the system is built around how you work, a new team member sits down, opens one thing, and sees exactly what they're supposed to do. The tool teaches the job. Remember, the founder couldn't answer, where does the client stand? Well, without checking 3 tools, you just go to a single dashboard, one source of truth. The answer is just there. And Sarah, well, Sarah doesn't really disappear, but she gets her time back and she can work on the business instead of in it. Now, I can already hear the objection. Sean, this sounds bloody expensive. This sounds like a big project. I've been burned by software projects before, and that's fair. I hear it constantly. It's exactly why the way we work at Foundana starts with discovery. Same process I described earlier, walking through exactly how your business runs. Because the worst thing we could do is build you the wrong thing fast. The goal isn't to build something impressive. The goal is to replace the friction. And most of the time, the thing that actually changes the business is way simpler than you realize. So here's a problem this video raised but didn't fully answer. How much is your current stack actually costing you? Not the subscription fees, the real cost. The margins being silently eroded by the inefficiency baked into how your tools are interacting and who has to stitch them all together. Well, that's exactly what I break down in my next video. Link is right here. Watch that one next. And if you're ready to stop recognizing the problem and start fixing it, well, go to foundana.com and we'll walk through your business exactly and figure out where it is that it's broken, what the bottlenecks are, where's the pain and the friction, and build you a system that makes the tool stack redundant.